Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This week, we've got Kevin Moroney online. He's a broadcast consultant with 25 years experience in the industry. And today, I think we're going to be talking about something to do with commercial negotiations. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah, well, you can talk about my experiences in the industry and things I've seen, things I've done.
Yeah. So before the show, you were telling me you had a big project to do with YouView many years ago. How was that? Do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, well, I was working for my career started with the BBC, and then that part of the division was sort of sold off, and we were working for an American company at the time, a company called Crown Castle, and we won the contracts for the BBC low power digital telly. They were still operating an analog telly, and we also won the contract with a company called ITV Digital. If you remember ITV Digital, they had
with the set-top boxes, right?
That's right. The set-top boxes. It was all new technology, and there was it was an exciting time. We were making things up as we went along, and it was cool. But unfortunately, ITV Digital decided. Well, ITV Digital was struggling to compete against Sky, and so they made a decision to close ITV Digital down and carry on, with their sort of headline broadcasting on analog telly. And that wasn't great for our Crown Castle, because it meant that we've got a brand new network, a low power digital tele network, DVB-T, if anybody's interested in that. So the technology, and it was a network that had only got one customer then, BBC. So we were a bit stumped. So we had a look at things, and after many discussions and lots of highbrow discussions with our parents, we decided we were going to apply for the licenses. And we, together with the BBC, applied for the 3 licenses. Sky were involved, and they were initially going to apply for one of the licenses, but for regulatory reasons, they were prevented from doing that. So Crown Castle, as was, applied for 2 licenses, which became Com5 and Com6, and the BBC applied for 1 license, which actually became PSB3. So the first license the BBC has is awarded under Royal Charter, and the second license they currently have is essentially back to that process in 2002. And then that meant that once we got the license, we just had to go and basically fill up the mucks with new customers and get things going again. So it meant really starting from scratch and getting coding and multiplexing in place, because that had been previously provided by ITV Digital, and it meant renegotiating distribution contracts. It meant and then renegotiating all the carriage agreements. So yeah, it was an exciting time.
And I guess, do these negotiations get quite protracted, like the YouView thing? Did that last months or years, or how long do these normally take?
It couldn't last a long time, because we had a network, and there was pressure to sort of get the network back up and running again, both from a regulatory point of view. Ofcom awarded the licenses, said, and the whole premise of why the Ofcom awarded the licenses was because we said it would be Freeview, and that's where the Freeview brand was born. And great credit to the BBC that they came up with that brand, as it were. And there was lots of companies that were set up as associated with that. So that's where DMEL came, and DTVSL, and effectively that's where DUK was born as well. So yeah, it was all we had to get things up and running within the space of a 9-month time frame. So it was right. it was a bit hairy,
yeah.
And I basically I'd got young kids and a family, and I lived near Warwick, so I just disappeared one day, and I was gone for months.
Yeah.
And I came home at the weekends, but I was my wife didn't see me and I missed my wedding anniversary as well.
Oh, so, no! Burning the midnight oil.
we don't ever talk about that. Obviously, my wife remembers it on a regular occasions, but we try not to talk about it.
Yeah.
But no, so we had to get everything up and running. I can tell you about one particular negotiation with one of the clients. I was in London, and we had to conclude this deal, and we've been negotiating for weeks basically, and we had to get it done by 10 a.m. the next day. There was a deadline because we were all ready to sort of announce the deal, but there was still, between me and you, there was a lot of key terms that hadn't been agreed. The price was one of them, and a lot of other things besides. And it was taking forever to get done, and we had lawyers and we were trading contracts backwards and forwards. And it got to about 6 p.m. that night, and I said to the team that I was with, I said, look, let's just, because we'd sent the contract back to their lawyers. I don't recall who the lawyers were, but I probably shouldn't mention them anyway. But we sent them back, and we were in our lawyers' offices. And so I said, look, they're going to be hours before they come back, because I could tell that they were playing games, because that's what happens. Everybody plays games. It's all part of the fun. Yeah. So I said, let's go and get some dinner and just relax. And they all thought I was crazy. And they said, no, we've got to get it done. It's got to be done the next hour. It's no way it's going to get done. Let's just. So we went and had dinner in the solicitors, and we waited and waited. About 10 o'clock that night, we heard back from that side. So we were kind of refreshed and happier and whatever. And basically, the whole process went through the night. We didn't get anywhere near our hotel. And about 9:30 in the morning was when the deal was actually signed, half an hour before we were due to go to. Now, the people I was were with were sort of all panicking. Oh, it's never going to get done. And whatever. It's got to get done, because they're as committed as we are to do this. So we just had to hold our nerve, and somehow it worked out.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of brinkmanship involved, I guess, quite a lot of the time, yeah.
The funny part, though, was, if I just tell you this one, the funny part was, we went to the hotel about 10 o'clock, and this lady in the reception, she said, "Are you checking in?" I said, "No, we're checking out." And she said she was bemused. Yeah,
brilliant. And Kevin, I'm interested because I speak to a lot of people who make the move from, say, broadcast operations into projects or sort of technology. Did you start in the commercial space to begin with, or did you start in the tech, or?
No, I started in operations.
Yeah,
and then I went through a number of sort of roles, including the supply chain, and then I ended up on the commercial, looking after customers. So I know I've done a fair few roles in my time. I've been on call out duty, being called out on Christmas Eve and Boxing Day and all that. I've done all that, and I know I've run operations as well. I've run a sort of a desk center, an MCR center. So I've pretty much what I've done, which helps, because when you're sat in front of a client and you're talking about things, if you've got a little bit of knowledge about how it works, it helps. You can actually help. Well, that's not going to work, but this might work. It's all about sort of making things with the other side of the client.
Yeah,
believe you know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's the angle I was thinking of, actually. And so have you? I guess recently you've sort of carried on working in the commercial negotiations and stuff.
Since I left Arqiva in 2015. I was the commercial and regulatory director for Arqiva. So I was the one that clients were ITV, BBC, all the radio customers, Bauer Global, and also we looked after. My team looked after the regulator, well, Ofcom. We did we basically tried to keep them happy as well, and the office of the adjudicator, who was also regulates Arqiva. So that was fun. Involved in various projects whilst I was there. Including radio DAB expansion, which was an interesting project, and I was also involved with digital switchover. I was the commercial director who sort of had to front that up to clients. very hairy moment when we had a fire at Oxford whilst they were trying to install the antenna, and
Oh no.
I was in a meeting at the BBC at the time, and when I came out, I switched my phone off when I'm in a meeting because I think it's rude not to do that. I came out, I put the phone on, and it literally lit up. There were so many messages.
Yeah.
And I called back, and they said, "We've got a fire," you know. So that was a bit hairy because the DSO program, or digital switchover program, was pretty high profile, as some of people may remember. And everybody was interested, from the clients, from BBC, ITV, etc., through to Ofcom. DCMS were also very, very interested in the whole process. So, you know, I had to then found myself the next day, you know, at DCMS offices with boots blacked, and you know, books down my trousers to sort of explain what was going on.
The DCMS is the digital and culture and media.
Culture and
Yeah.
And so they were nervous, and I basically had to sort of go in and calm the waters and say, "Don't worry, we've got it under control. We're doing this," and explain all the things we were doing, and basically keep everybody, you know, a bit like Captain Mannering, say, "Don't panic. It will be fine." And indeed, it was. And that's, you know, that what I would say. Working in this industry, you work with some really smart people. You'll work with some really bright people, and it's actually, that's the fun part, because when you hit a problem, you know you've got a team behind you that are going to sort the problems out, and you know you have to have confidence in people to be able to do that. And I always did.
Actually, it's curious you mentioned that, because you know, if we think of a commercial director, it's not someone doing maths on an Excel sheet. There's the soft skills that you just mentioned then, right, Kevin?
Yeah. Well, you have to be good at maths as well, and you know, and have the Excel skills and all that. But I also had a team of you know, in my team I had a range of skills from sort of engineering, you know, through to finance. And you know, the finance people I had were very good, you know, excellent, and they understand, you know, their subject very, very well. But it's that the team works by, when you've got people of different skill sets, you make it work, because you know that they're all motivated. They all want to work to achieve a common goal, but they've got their own specialism, and you rely upon that specialism. I understand what they're doing, but I never tell them what to do. I always let them, you know, let them flourish, and that's the secret to having a really good team. It's having good people in the first instance, and then letting them shine.
And you know, how have you found your ideal role, Kevin? You must be happy in your work now. How do you know when you found it, and you know what makes it, you know, tick over for you?
Well, I knew I'd found the role when I was appointed as commercial director for broadcast for Crown Castle and Arqiva, because I was working with really bright people, and that's what really gives me a buzz. I like working with good people. I like good customers as well. We have some fantastic customers. So you know, if you're doing something interesting, you're working with nice people, you've got good customers, you know, what more can you like? What more do you want? You know, it makes, you know, going into work gives you a skip, and you think, right, I've got a problem today, and I'm going to try and solve the problem. But you know you'll solve it because you've done it before, and you have the team behind you that will be able to help you, and you know, and they'll solve the problem. And you know, so yeah, it's you know, you're not doing something boring or day to day. You're making a difference, and your clients, when they say thank you and they really appreciate what you've done, that really gives you a real special moment. So you know.
Absolutely, yeah. And like, you know, even for me, I didn't find my sort of ideal role until sort of 10 or 15 years into my sort of career. So not everyone finds their ideal role straight away, I guess.
No. And sorry to interrupt, but my role, I didn't start my career thinking I'm going to end up there. I sort of fell into it, but I was working for an MD who was an Australian, and he called me and said, well, I'd actually told him I was kind of bored doing what I was doing, and I said, you know, just to let you know, I need another challenge. And not long after that, he called me and said, what about this? I said, oh, how long have I got to think about it? He says, well, you've got an hour.
That's long enough, right?
I knew.
Yeah. And so if people want to find more about you, Kevin, you're on LinkedIn, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So just put the URL up there. So anyone who wants to connect with Kevin, you see his recent experience, feel free to go on LinkedIn and connect with him. So on that, Kevin, I'd just like to say thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's been a pleasure going through all the commercial negotiations of yesteryear with you.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Take care, yeah?
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.